somebody that has Native American in their background, we don't want you. We don't. We don't. We don't.
Young Metro don't trust
We don't.
you. I don't know.
We don't want you. We good.
And post. There we go. Welcome, bienvenidos, to another episode, a wild and woolly episode of DC TVD coming up tonight.
Wildest,
I can
woolliest.
feel it.
Wild and woolly.
I can feel it. Wild and woolly.
Wild and woolly.
Because it is the Queen Bee, Molly Rulin's birthday today.
Ooh.
Shout out
22.
Molly.
22.
Happy birthday. The DC TVD crew picked up a little bit of...
John?
Molly doesn't like to really advertise it very much how much she likes Jameson. But,
So I'll
but those of us in the know,
I'll just say it for
we
you.
know.
Yeah.
We like
what
it. She likes it.
So we are coming
If you
to
know,
you.
you know.
We're coming to you live from the Washington Post building, downtown Washington D.C. The Mind Space,
Non-space space.
where they offer cold brew,
Wow.
even at 8:00 at night.
Where I will not be drinking it.
That's the best.
Beautiful.
That's the best time to drink cold brew coffee. I
to
feel.
be up until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Beautiful. Oh my God, divine. I'm here as always with my co-host, my partners in crime, the beautiful, the lovely, the talented Michelle Bush.
Bonjour, everybody. Bonjour.
You are Shelby of DC
Shelby of DC.
on the Twitters.
On the
and
Twitters.
all the other handles.
That's the only place you can follow me.
I was just posting our link on Facebook before. We're also here with the venerable Marcus K. Dowling. That's Marcus with a C. K. Dowling.
Yes, yes.
At Marcus C. Wow, guys.
It's
Seems
Monday.
Feels like there's a lot.
Oh, it's all ridiculous in the best way.
There's a lot of ridiculousness. I propose.
You forgot about Americana dipshit.
Oh, I think this has to be a new segment. Americana dipshittery. I think we sometimes follow the rabbit holes a little too much on maybe stories that don't necessarily deserve the amount of time that we give to them.
Who are we speaking of?
So I'm speaking of
Kanye, Omari West.
I think we can do a segment called Americana Dipshittery.
Starring and
where,
featuring.
like, we literally will give ourselves 2 minutes to like talk about how stupid Kanye West has been acting this week. Talk about how stupid Elizabeth Warren's DNA testing.
I'm not going to call Kanye stupid this evening.
I'm not going to call Kanye stupid either. I don't believe he's stupid, and I think that's actually what's disappointing. It feels lazy to me more than anything else.
It feels simple. It's okay. So the
basic.
The
To
easiest.
just do the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Easiest way.
There's
to
a
get
reason why
between-
everybody's doing something.
The easiest way to get between 2 points is to draw a straight line.
Correct.
So the second that Donald Trump placed any sort of like possible nuance in the friendship between he and Kanye just removed all nuance from it and went up and gave Donald Trump a hug, which is exactly what you want to do when you want people to believe
it was ridiculous.
that you are. When you want people to believe that you are exactly who you say you are,
You show him.
you show them.
Right.
And he showed the world.
But did you see how awkward the hug was?
You think Trump was ready for that?
It was so awkward.
I don't think Trump likes to hug his kids.
No.
I'll
first of
say-
all,
Much
he
less-
does-
much
first of all, he
less- much
doesn't
less
hug
a black
his
guy.
kids.
I'll say that.
Maybe Ivanka. He likes to
I'll
hug
say that-
Ivanka.
Yeah, that's
Chris-
disgusting.
Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian,
They are.
Bruce Jenner.
You think they're huggers?
No, I think
No.
that they're all kind of staring at Kanye all right now, kind of like, well, one of us is married to him, and I don't know. I'm his mother-in-law, and I'm trying to be a surrogate mom, and
They're like, somebody's got to cash checks around here.
I don't know. And I think it's great because it's like the one great thing about this is that you leave this place where everybody's just kind of all looking at this man going, I don't know.
It looks ridiculous. So I guess for those who've been hiding under a rock, Kanye West visited the White House. He sat in the Oval Office.
Shout out to the Music Modernization Act.
Shout out to the Music
2018.
Modernization Act. And
Kid
I will
Rock was
say-
in the building on the
Kid-
same day.
I wanna say very
Jim
briefly-
Brown.
Yes.
I want to say very briefly about the Music Modernization Act. I want to read up a lot more on it, but we're
You need to.
definitely going to discuss it because that's a topic of great interest to me. So, all right, I think we're about halfway through our Americana dipshittery.
Shout out to Jim
Kanye
Brown,
West.
ready to fight Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, that was pitiful. Yeah, I mean, Kanye is, and I know we don't want to talk about it, and I know that, we don't want to
We don't want to talk about it, but here we go.
But
Getting ready
the
to
thing
talk about it.
But the thing about it is we do have to talk about it because this is more than just politics right now. It is, you're talking about somebody that is going through a true mental health breakdown. You're talking about somebody who's
He says he's not.
No,
I'm right here. I can hear you.
oh, okay. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? There's so many layers to Kanye. There's so many layers to everything that he has presented to us in his life. When have we seen this before in an artist that has been, vocal on? And again, the whole thing about being a genius, I think he's a very musically talented person. He's not a genius, but we are looking at somebody who is
a gift. He's very gifted.
He's gifted
in his field.
Correct. He's not gifted in the field of.
Right.
But we look at other people, and I'm not on either side of this. There's a problem. The man jumped up on the table at the Apple store and
that's your Apple store.
That's my Apple store. Shout out to my Apple babies in Georgetown. I did open that store. And so I know what it's like when a celebrity comes in there and they're loud and they get up on tables. People are continuing to allow him. It's
spectacle.
It's a spectacle. And so when does that, is it Kid Cudi that's going to stop him? Is
everybody's in the room?
Is it Hove? Is Hove going to say, okay, let me get off tour and now let me go check on my friend?
Hove's got crazy hair and is on Zoloft. He's smiling.
He's
I love Hove's
smiling.
hair.
He's happy. He's like, whatever you won't be, you can have it.
That's right.
So-
That's right.
So
He finally figured out who the moneymaker was in that family.
It
It's
occurred,
him.
it occurred
It's
to
him.
me. My last
Let's be clear. It's
last
him.
point on Kanye for a while, probably.
For a while?
Yeah, I know.
What?
No, it's not, because I actually have a question for you, but I want to
Okay.
So it'll be the
The
second,
closest, the
second to
closest,
last
the
point you make
closest
about
thing that
Kanye.
I can look at when I look at Kanye right now, it finally made sense to me. It's David Bowie. It's David Bowie in the Ziggy Stardust era, trying to push social conventions ahead, trying to be intentionally controversial, trying to also make music that breaks down social expectations and pulls everybody into the room.
My hope is that he's more Andy Kaufman in self-satire, intentional self-satire than...
But there's a lot of the Thin White Duke happening here because he's clearly assumed a character.
Yeah.
Clearly. Red Hat Kanye is
That's a character.
a whole other man.
Will we
wearing
see
a cape.
Will we see a cartoon done like Mike Tyson Mysteries, which is my favorite TV show right now?
It's wonderful.
Will we see this in the near future? Cartoon Network, call us.
Red Hat Kanye.
Red
is
Hat
a-
Kanye. That's the name of it. Red Hat Kanye.
He gets superpowers
Yeah,
when he
it's-
wears the red hat. Oh my
No,
God.
the one the part that where he's starting to like really pull it out now and start to like expose the grand like dipshittery of this, which is ultimately
T-shirts coming soon.
is when he said
Champagne
that
Soul, shout out.
when he
Champagne
stated
Soul,
when he
shout out.
stated that he was antagonized by the energy of a woman running for president and he could not be with her, but the second that he saw a man attempting to do what he needed to do, and then when he put the hat on his head and he shared energy with this man, that he felt safe and calm.
Is that the penis culture that we were talking about
Yes,
a couple weeks ago?
110% is.
It's pitiful. It's just sad.
It's old-
And we had
it's
to
old pee-pee culture.
No. See, I said I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it tonight. There it is.
Penis.
I think someone's a little sensitive.
God, sensitive penises. Here we
Inside
go.
jokes that are going to have, we'll give no context.
And we are
will
not
give
even
no
in the first 10
No, but
minutes,
that's
y'all.
the,
Okay.
that's the crazy part. He's,
All right,
he's
I
there.
want to bring this level of dipshittery to a
To a
close.
close?
Yes.
I am at this point now averse to giving Kanye more of what he wants, I think, which is attention. And this leads into my question.
Yeah.
What do you think of his most recent output? Do you think it's great? Do you think it's genius level? Do you
Okay.
think it's good? I mean, I think, obviously painting with a broad brush, but kind of like his
Okay.
where he's at musically right now, which is his lane, his primary lane.
He released 72 songs.
How many of those 72 songs do you think are
Or not, even
great?
72. It's
Flashing
37. He put
lights.
37. 37 songs in a month. He put out. 6 of them are
Legitimately
good.
great. Are good.
6.
6 are good.
Good.
6 are good.
Like you can buy a good used MacBook.
And Free from the Kids See Ghost record is great.
Okay.
But-
One great track.
One great track.
6 good tracks.
tracks.
And 30
30
Dipshittery. Track.
not even dipshittery, just
average.
average, like
Paint by numbers.
like especially on the production side.
Yeah.
Just I had an idea
Out of Wyoming.
and I started to flesh it out, but it's not quite done yet because I'm not in the room with like every other person I'm usually in the room with, and I don't have any expectations. And that's the dangerous part about Kanye right now.
Is he seeking attention because the music isn't great?
No, he doesn't have expectations. So okay, so as an artist, right?
But
As-
does he
as-
have standards?
No,
That's
because
the problem.
well, okay, think about it. If you did it, if you're an artist, and your expectation is to have a #1 album that sells 10 million copies,
Right.
and you reach 5 million, then you failed. Like you have
Even though
a,
you, by any reasonable metric, you've succeeded
right, but you failed.
by selling 5 million. But if the expectation was 10,
Right,
I
so-
yeah,
Then you get to a point in the music industry where again, music doesn't sell.
right.
So when music doesn't sell, suddenly your desire to sell 10 million records doesn't matter anymore. So the reason that you exist as a creative force literally
Just
just
to get clicks and likes.
yeah, it's just zoop, gone.
Click, like, share.
What are you doing at this point? You have no creative the essence of your creativity has no like home in your own head. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, how do I quantify if this is any good?
He has to create. Are you saying that he has to create news for himself in order to be able to monetize
No,
his
or just to be able
artistic
no, or
endeavors?
just to be able to feel
Because that's
good.
kind of how I feel.
No, or just to feel good about himself.
Right.
The money is secondary. He made a deal with the Russians. This is obvious at this point.
Somebody wants to know the name of the track that was greatly produced.
Free, the Kids See Ghost track with Cuddy and 070 Shake. The thing is like just to feel good about himself because obviously money is of no concern. He's also sex and other
Is
things
it?
that motivate people. It's of no concern.
You think money is of no concern to him?
No, not at this point. The second you sit down with Donald Trump, and the one thing that you guys have in common is that there's somebody somewhere that has financed both of you, which is my I will go to the grave on that one.
What, that Kanye's Russian finance too?
Of course, he went from being all the way broke to screaming on his album about how he has $1 billion.
Oh boy.
Thank you, Russian.
So and then
For-
you
for your
suddenly
dressing
and then you
and for
suddenly
Kanye.
and then you suddenly decide that Donald Trump is okay, and you even put his head on your head.
You know his mama is just.
I don't get
She
it.
wants to get out that grave.
So that's Americana dipshittery.
There it is.
Right. So
it
Part 1.
Part 1.
Yeah.
Americana dipshittery part 2. I think we can make this one a little quicker. Elizabeth Warren today announced
yes.
that she has taken a DNA test and that she is either some astronomically small or some very, very, very small percent actual Native American in her blood, in her ancestry, which I take as her attempt at the sickest fucking burn on Donald Trump, dunking on him, just owning him. She is just crushing him.
Get
Trump
out.
is just
Get, please.
Trump is sitting at his phone right now. He has erased probably 50 response tweets to Elizabeth Warren.
Please. That was the saddest.
she
That was the saddest.
dunked on him.
Dunk my balls. That was the saddest. That was the saddest.
I want everyone to know I'm being completely facetious.
Playing
That-
into the
Oh my gosh. She played right into.
She made herself the punchline of even more jokes. Does she think that Donald Trump now is going to be oh gosh.
If he didn't do it
I
with,
shouldn't call her
with
Pocahontas anymore.
I mean, please, okay.
You know what he's going to do? He's going to get up in front of a crowd.
Yeah,
Trump
you
is going
know
to get
it.
up. He's going to get up in front of a
This
crowd,
week.
and he's going to say, "So, Elizabeth Warren." The crowd's going to start booing. No. Elizabeth Warren apparently has like a very tiny amount of Native American heritage.
Tiny.
It's very tiny.
With my tiny hands.
And so now I'm wondering, should I stop calling her Pocahontas? And the crowd's going to go, no, no. And they're going to throw things.
No,
And they're-
it's
Why? Where was
No,
her PR?
okay.
Where
Trump
was
is gonna
her?
sit there
Where was
just-
her PR team when this
okay.
when
so-
this came out?
No, but here's the thing, right?
Because come on, Ancestry.com. This was not.
The problem here is that somebody, again, like we said last week,
This was easy.
somebody has to run for president from the Democratic Party.
Well, can it not be her?
Not her anymore.
Oh no, but everybody believes that they can.
Believing and doing.
Right, and this is all part of that whole thing we were talking about with the whole like aura of Camelot, where like Elizabeth Warren's like, well,
No.
the easiest way for me to stand up and show people that I'm serious
Oh, look.
is to actually do
Right.
a DNA test.
To give credence to
And
this
and
ridiculous.
and then on top of that, you have John Kerry in Financial Times this week saying, "I just think that the party needs to get through 2018 first.
We just get through.
Let's worry about 2018 before we get to." Oh, that's right. There is a presidential election in 2020.
Right. It's
Oh,
right
we'll start
around the damn
we'll start-
corner.
We'll start thinking about that.
And then
pretty soon.
Bloomberg's like, "Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm down. Let's go."
Jesus.
So this is where we are right now. So the black folk, who everybody thinks are going to win, by the way, nobody thinks that a white person in the Democratic Party has a chance of being the president of the United States, which is hysterical. This is a point that we've reached in American history, where the white person who runs, and we've literally can now break this down by race, where the white person that's running for president has no chance.
I'm watching Marcus's head explode.
It's hysterical because it's like, okay,
I feel like it's that emoji. Just
it's like, oh, like, okay, so
Yeah.
so neither Kamala nor Corey has said anything.
Kamala. Can we get her name right? Thank you.
Yeah. So
She's going to be the next president of the United States.
right.
No, she's not.
So-
She may be the first African American female vice president.
So I mean, but that's the thing. It's like all the people that you're actually want to see like say that they're going to run have said nothing. But everybody who's saying something right now, they're triggered by the fact that the Democrats could lose Congress. Triggered.
How many more days until election day, Ian?
20 something.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's first Tuesday in November, people.
Yeah, they're
Get out and
triggered.
vote.
They're
Get out and
triggered.
vote. Even if you're conservative, get out and vote.
All of your favorite politicians
Write somebody in.
are freaking out because they understand that if they are a Democrat, that the conservative wave is not necessarily growing, but it's entrenching itself. And all those people that voted for Trump, not unlike the people that voted for Obama, all those people that voted for Trump are coming back to the polls in November. There's no sign of any abatement.
Listen,
Like the Dems.
I have assumed, I have baked in your standard GOP midterm voting patterns. I have that baked in. My assumption is that on the left, what tends to bring the left together is anger. We saw it in 2006. People were angry at
So
George
Elizabeth
W. Bush.
Warren just
And
takes
so
an L?
I think,
Oh, she's gonna take an L.
She did.
yeah, I think she took a big L today.
Right now.
Oh, the birthday girl.
Oh,
Got a L.
The birthday girl.
sucks now.
There it is.
Oh,
there it
super
is.
now.
You don't even know what L means, do you?
No.
The L train to some.
I
Back
pulled.
to my Grateful Dead era.
Yeah.
L means acid.
Yes.
LSD. So
Yes.
I heard from reading all the Choose Your Own Adventure Grateful Dead books.
Those are good.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Like the pages.
I know.
Don't lick
Go to
the
page
page.
47 for Jack Straw.
You never know.
With the dead references.
So,
Okay.
so everybody's so mad that they're willing to take like massive, enormous the kinds of losses that you cannot recover from. Like
Oh, she can't recover from that tweet this morning.
hey,
I'm a Native American
I took it's like
on a Monday.
it's like
That's like me coming out and being like, hey guys, turns out.
You actually are. Hey, sister.
I'm not even gonna say it out loud.
Don't worry, I said
It's
it for you.
just so ridiculous. Like, and then like Bloomberg standing up like, I'm running, guys.
Sit down.
I'm 78 years
I
old,
know.
grizzled.
Grizzled.
Here's Mike Bloomberg. Hey, I'm running.
Re-
Hey, anybody?
Anybody?
Hello?
If you run faster, you get to the end of the block.
I was mayor of New York.
Who gives a shit?
I'm running.
It's just comedy.
Jay-Z.
He had a good song about it.
Hey man, at this
Like to hear it,
point-
here it go.
You'd like to hear it? Marcus and I will sing it for you.
In New York, concrete jungles where dreams are made of. God,
I'm a soprano now.
I know.
it's ridiculous.
None of us were doing the Jay-Z part. We were all doing the Alicia Keys part.
Oh, God. I need something to wash my mouth out now.
It's just absurd. Like,
Here you go.
I don't.
Yeah. Shout out to her.
I don't necessarily.
You too can be
And
sponsored
I'm
by.
fascinated by the fact that the Republicans are just content to let Trump think that he's going to run again in 2020.
There it is. Your head is exploding.
Like that's
Trump
the,
is running again in 2020.
Yeah, Trump is right.
he's
The
running
question-
again.
He's
the
running
question-
again.
The question is not whether he's running. The question is whether he's running as a Republican,
Or just as a man.
or just as a man in the world,
I'm a man in the
man in the
world.
As a
world.
lizard.
running against Mitt Romney and Joe Biden.
Oh gosh, no, no.
Did you say Mitt Romney?
Mittens and Joe.
Oh, mittens.
Old Mittens and Joe.
Oh, rusty mittens and
These
That's
three,
all right. Uncle Joe is gonna come out with
these-
the gusto.
these three 70-plus-year-old men.
That's fine. Let Uncle Joe run.
Listen, if you want to talk about like the so if you want to talk about like
70+ old white men.
Yeah, so if you wanna
Old,
talk about, like,
rich
the-
white men.
like the death of America.
the penis games begin.
If you want to talk about like the death of the American ideal, there's nothing worse than watching like the third presidential debate in 2019
God,
when there are these three old shriveled white men
The paramedics-
discussing black people's issues.
The paramedics will be on the side of the damn dais.
No, but that's gonna be the funny part. They're gonna be talking about black people and brown people. These three old white people.
There's gonna be there'll be a sign language interpreter and a defibrillator.
Let me just go ahead and put the disclaimer out. This show is getting ready to go to hell,
No,
y'all.
if it is true,
Shout out to the DC as fuck show. We're drinking on our.
it's
show,
gonna
too.
be amazing to watch.
Cheers, Michelle.
Cheers, y'all. There it is.
It's gonna be amazing to watch.
Plenty of penalties. Cheers.
It's gonna
to
be
you,
amazing to watch
Molly.
these old decrepit. Okay, so I wrote a piece about this a long time ago.
Ooh.
There's a belief I have that there's nothing more fascinating than watching the death of America, the American ideal.
By three old ass.
No,
three
no,
old ass
no,
white men.
no. Then to see it go all the way back around the sun to like the Continental Congress, because all of these white men could have powder in their hair,
I'm not going back to picking cotton.
and they could have, and they. Oh, I mean, you know, there are
Oh,
enough,
wait a minute.
there are enough trap rappers in the world who are doing that for you right now.
I was
back?
in the house. My bad. Excuse me.
I know. I'm saying.
I was in the house.
You. Anyway, me too. But
Master's doing his business.
but
on
no,
me.
it's just like what, like we're gonna go all the way back around the sun, and you're gonna have three people who could have signed the Constitution.
Oh, fuck. Screw.
They're like a quarter of the way. They're like a quarter of the age of the country.
I'm just like that's the thing. Like there are three men who
I mean,
could have.
seriously, when you're 80 years old, that's like what, like a fifth of the country's history.
But they could have signed the Constitution. Like they could have looked like people that could have signed the American Constitution, like rather easily. Like you could put
A feather.
a feather in Joe Biden's hand. You could put powder in his hair. You could put him in, you know, the long stockings and the tightly buttoned
And Joe,
shirt.
Coiffed.
Uncle Joe would rock that shit.
Coiffed.
I know.
Coiffed blouse.
Yes.
Blouse.
He would have a working class Scranton, PA, whatever the Scranton, PA version of
Like his
the
top
powdered
coat
wig.
and his top coat.
Yeah.
But that's where we are. And it's like, okay, so
With a cane.
the people that are relevant to where America is right now, we just don't have any time for them. But these aged, you know, white folks who are the only people left because, you know, like we've decided that, you know, like black people don't want to vote anymore because 96% of them voted for the black guy twice.
And when's another one gonna get
Right,
up there so I
exactly.
can exercise my vote? You know, first of all, how is it that we came to the election being the first of the month? You know, that's why most people are not gonna go out to vote. It's
No.
the first of the month,
Right, of course.
Baby, I got to go to the doctor. I got to pay my bills. Got to go run me a lottery number.
Exactly.
And then I'm going back in the house
Right,
with my bottle.
right. Of course. There's no reason to go vote.
Because
Oh,
you can't
vote.
afford anything else.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's to the point that, was it Lyft or Uber to go to the polls
yeah.
are going to do free rides?
Yeah, and that's decent. But it's not going to make a difference.
Shout out to where we vote. All I got to do is walk up the street.
There it is.
Crazy. All right. I think that about wraps up
I feel good about it.
Americana
Dipshittery.
Dipshittery. Because I want to actually talk about what I think is the real story of this past week. And before I do that, am I getting like good sound? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
can hear you.
yeah, I
Okay,
can hear
for
just
whatever
fine.
reason, I can't hear myself very well. But anyway,
You got your headphones on backwards?
Turn your headphone amp up. Is it all the way up? The headphones on.
yeah, I'm good.
Because normally I have my headphones on backwards.
Turn my headphones up.
I know.
Actually, you had them unplugged one night, didn't you?
No, I had it on. I had the right on the left and the left on the right.
Oh my god.
Which microphone are you on?
I'm mic 3.
I can hear you perfectly fine. Outside world, those that are watching.
Microphone
Wait,
check.
what
1,
microphone are you, Marcus? 5?
2,
I think
Four.
I'm 2 or 4. Yeah.
He's 4.
Okay, I'm 4. I can hear everyone just fine.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
By the way.
I can hear myself better now. Thank
Look at you. You
Molly.
you so
Killing it back there.
She's our
Shout out to Molly.
She's our everything.
Okay, so I've kept everyone in suspense long enough. What I think was the real big news of this past week was the United Nations, the Intergovernmental
Intergovernmental.
Panel on Climate Change.
Yes.
Released a report in the wake of the Paris Accords. Is a huge report that really attempted to synthesize a lot of the science, a lot of the peer-reviewed science that is out there on climate, and in particular on the impact of carbon in the atmosphere and the warming of the planet.
Right.
Just to give some context here. So the Paris Accords was an international agreement. Obviously, nothing in international law is binding in any real way when you're the United States anyway. I mean, I guess if you're Micronesia, you could be compelled, but I just saw "We're fucked" go across the screen.
In real life.
In real life
in real
and
life.
in
That's
our
the
and in our
title.
weather.
That's the title of our segment. We're fucked. The Paris Accords were meant to keep global warming at a level between 1.5 degrees centigrade and 2 degrees centigrade, above and beyond sort of like the normal patterns, the normal climate patterns that we've seen, basically in the history of mankind over about the last 12,000 years of this planet's history, geological history. We're currently at about 1 degree centigrade, and we're, I think, seeing real impacts of climate change. We're seeing a lot of changes, and we can talk about that. But we are
Seattle,
currently
like rainy season in Washington D.C.
we are currently on pace for 3 degrees centigrade of warming by the end of this century at the current rate that we are on, assuming no mitigation, no efforts to curb, just to maintain carbon emissions at the level that we do on a global stage in 2018. By 2100, we'll have about 3 degrees of warming. Let's talk about 2 degrees of warming and what that means. 2 degrees of warming, what the gist of this report is that 2 degrees of warming is where we start to see real catastrophic damage. We start to see coastal cities, many coastal cities, unlivable. Many small islands, unlivable. This is going to create a huge refugee spike. We're going to see at 2 degrees centigrade, we're going to see the complete 100% elimination of coral reef on planet Earth.
Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef right now is white.
Yeah, it's bleached. It's bleached.
Yeah.
We're going to see.
Like the rest of them.
Oh, that was just coming from a hairdresser, stylist,
boy.
colorist.
Hey man, Molly, it's your birthday. You drop any bombs.
just drop 'em.
You drop any bombs you
say.
want. Be like, it's my birthday. Fuck it.
Fuck it, we're fucked.
Um,
But the barrier reef.
On the internet.
Ooh, what? You just request what? Oh my god.
Michelle,
Nudes. What?
Oh Lord.
What Pertel is okay anyway.
So-
but the barrier reef, so it's always the craziest report that you see. It's basically has been bleached, but there are parts of it that are coming back.
yeah.
right, but
Making a
that's
comeback.
but the thing. But the
That
thing,
I suppose is like a dead cat bounce,
it's current.
or it's like the dip that just keeps in the
It's the
in
it's
the in
it's
the
a,
in the straight upward trajectory. I
it's
mean,
it's a current thing because
yeah.
when ocean currents change, like you could have a top layer that's like ice cold,
Right.
but you could have like 2 or 3 layers beneath
Well, that's why I tell people
that are like leagues beneath the sea. By the way, this is not like
leaves.
20 feet. It's like leagues beneath the sea. It's like 70 degrees, and you're like, oh, okay.
But that's
so,
why I always tell people you can still eat crabs in December. The water hasn't frozen all the way down there.
right,
where the crabs
exactly.
are.
So
It's a good time.
I mean, and we all love warm summer rains in the middle of fall, right?
The hell I
Just
don't.
for 25 consecutive days, right?
Damn mosquitoes.
Well, I mean, that's just what's
awesome.
going on. That's just what's going on here in DC. I mean, I can tell you, I have been born in DC, but my family left when I was 8. I've been back in DC since like about 06, so a little over a decade. And just since 06, I feel like I have seen some significant changes in weather patterns just over the last 10 years. And then look at we have to look to the planetary extremes. You know, the wildfires that we're seeing in California are
110%.
100 times more devastating than what we're accustomed to, what the people in California are accustomed to. We're seeing wildfires in the Arctic. We have seen wildfires
Yes.
in the Arctic.
I'll just say it.
That's insane.
New Orleans is unlivable.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
All right, so I went to New Orleans on
Will
vacation.
DC be? DC is below sea
DC
level.
will get hit hard.
DC will
Like
get
at our current trajectory of 3 degrees centigrade. I mean, is DC
Yeah.
livable in 2100?
no, of course not.
Is CC livable now? I mean,
Let's be very real.
But okay, so New
It's a little
Orleans.
rough over in our hood.
So if you go to New Orleans, I went to New Orleans on vacation, thinking this is going to be
If you live in the Shay, it is.
this is going to be the big, wonderful, beautiful New Orleans vacation.
no,
We're
baby,
gonna go
it still stink a little bit down
no,
there.
it's okay.
stinks
So they use
little bit
industrial grade soap
yeah.
Yeah.
to cleanse the streets of New Orleans.
Right.
Yes.
If you walk the streets of New Orleans at 6 o'clock in the morning,
It's a little
they are
soapy.
spraying industrial grade soap. They will be doing this for the rest of time.
They walk with 3 hogs, so they can just literally peel off the lye and create the soap right there.
It's disturbing. Like, and if you look at the
That was
building,
disturbing, yeah.
and if you look at the buildings
Still.
in the French Quarter, they are
Still.
gray, white clapboard buildings that have been white since 1742 are now gray because of erosion and water damage. Those are things that will never change. And it's only one more flood away. And if you stand at the end of the French Quarter, you look out onto the ocean, and you're looking at their aqueduct system or whatever they have. The water level is about a good 10 feet there. It's not sustainable. Like you're looking at it like one good rainstorm,
It's gonna mess everything up.
and this does not last.
Nope. As you're flying into New Orleans, because you know when you fly in and the plane makes that hard left,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden you're like, "Whoa, oh, those are the levees, and the water is right there."
Yeah.
That's not a good look.
No,
It
it's not.
it always gets people, because if you've been on the plane and people that have never been to New Orleans before, you hear them gasping.
If you drive,
Because number one, that plane just made a real hard left.
Yeah.
And then as you're descending down to go into the airport, and then as they look out the window, I mean, they are literally like,
Yeah.
when they see how you'll hear somebody say, "Oh, those are the levees," and that water is right there.
Yeah, yeah.
one good rain.
Look, I mean,
It's over.
the consequences of sort of where we are right now with climate change are pretty profound. You know, you can see, you know, we can feel the warming. I think most people in their own lives, the heat waves that have come across Western Europe over the last couple of summers
It's been a little hot in Greece.
are, you know, not, you know, it just seems like the you know, hurricane season, we're getting catastrophic storm on top of catastrophic storm on top of catastrophic storm, whereas before it was like a once every 5 year
Well, the
type deal.
hurricanes are our ancestors.
So,
It's always been the story in my family. Hurricanes are our ancestors.
well, they're pissed. They're pissed off about something.
Well, I mean, thing is, look at where the
Imagine what?
I can't imagine what. Look at where hurricanes start. Look at the path that they travel.
On my Tinder profile.
Oh my God.
Wow. Wow. So,
Do you want to shout out your Tinder handle in case anybody?
We're fucked.
.org.
Oh, as
But no-
we've gone from
As we
to
proceed.
climate to Tinder.
No, but I mean, it's...
Well,
At AOL.com.
welcome to
let's-
DCTBD.
So let's have like a real conversation here.
I thought we were until Tinder.
Houston, Texas. Fucked.
Oh, there is no more Houston.
So, all right, hold
New
on.
Orleans, Louisiana.
We know New Orleans is fucked.
Fucked.
How do we know New Orleans is fucked?
New York.
Because you go there.
Majority black city.
Right. No. Houston,
Nobody-
Texas.
They're not going to stop it.
Houston, Texas.
This is my question.
Corpus Christi.
Will the government do what's necessary to keep
No.
Houston
No, here's the...
afloat?
Okay, I'll put it like this. The one...
They'll do what they have to do to keep
No.
New York afloat.
The one
There'll be
benefit,
seawalls.
and this is going to sound how it sounds, but it's the absolute truth. It's the difference between Africans and African Americans. One of the largest populations of Nigerians in America is in Houston, Texas. Houston will always be okay. Like large parts of Houston will cease to exist, but there will be a hill where every Nigerian will live.
Yeah.
And what hill?
What hill would that be?
Hill exactly.
Oh my God. They're not going to let you in, Mel.
I'm just saying.
They may.
So,
I don't know. Nigerians love me.
right, most of
They may let her in.
most of Northern California,
They won't let me in.
fucked, gone, burned off the map,
Catalina Island is
gone.
dust.
The wine mixer is done. Not happening. The Great Lakes, all of the regions around the Great Lakes, if this continues to be a trend, if global temperatures rise 2 more degrees in the next 50 years, everything surrounding the Great Lakes, because the Great Lakes seem like a great idea in theory,
Well, could they take Kanye with them?
but all those places around the Great Lakes, fucked. Duluth, Minnesota, fucked. Because it's flat next to a lake.
Let's talk about
Gone.
up east, Vermont and all.
Well, they're surrounded by mountains, so they'll be okay. Largely okay.
Buying some land in Maine, y'all.
Right. So like there's like giant mountains.
But away from the coast. I mean,
Right. The
I
coast-
think it's not so much I think it's not so much an elevation thing at this point. It's not a height thing so much as it is a depth thing.
Right, but if
because
you're
what we're
on
going
the
to see with
coast-
this water, what we're going to see is erosion of coasts.
Right, but if you're on a
and where
coast,
are
yeah,
most
get away.
where are most cities in the world? On
Yeah.
coasts.
I just South Carolina. That hurts my heart. The
South
Kishi
Carolina,
land, Gullah,
half of the Carolinas
gone.
gone,
Yeah.
South Florida.
gone.
Part
South Florida's just gonna
Northern Florida
wash
on
away
that-
one
on
day.
that
South
Gulf?
Florida is already it floods a lot.
No,
And you have like little standing water in the
the thing
streets
that's
a lot.
crazy is one of my friends was down there for Miami Music Week, and he was telling me the stories about being like drunk late at night and not understanding
in Miami.
how there were
Miami?
actual. He's like I thought I was seeing like sand dollars walking down the street or like sand crabs, and he's like, no, these were full-fledged turtles.
Yeah.
These were real, actual, live turtles that should be on a beach or in the sea, as he said,
They want to come party.
walking down the street. And he's like, yeah. And then
If there's turtles walking down the street, they're either coming inland to lay
No.
eggs or they've just hatched and they're going back.
because the problem is it's even crazier than that. They're in the sewer system. It's like the Ninja Turtles. I swear to
Oh, it's the
God.
Ninja Turtle.
They're in the sewers.
Teenage
because
Mutant
because the
Ninja
sewers
Turtles.
because the sewers are so damp and the sewers are so full of water that it's livable
It's livable for them.
in the sewers for them.
Yo, I didn't know where this.
It's like
show
having a
was
basement
going.
apartment.
Exactly, right.
You only get sunlight from the top in a very small.
Please don't talk about it. I lived in a basement apartment for
Right,
3
so
years.
I want people to understand that. Like those are things like large parts. So America's not gonna get afraid of this until the big city to watch out for is Miami. Because New Orleans, we almost lost New Orleans, and we lost Detroit.
Yeah.
Nobody got scared. We lost Detroit, Michigan. We lost Flint, Michigan. We lost cities.
What do these cities have in common?
Right, exactly. We don't have to go there.
Amazing food.
The darker the berry.
Right. So Miami is the city because Miami is a cosmopolitan, global hub of commerce, entertainment.
Yep.
It's a gumbo pot.
Yes.
It's a gumbo pot.
Right. And the second that Miami washes off the planet
We think of
finally,
it more as an arroz con pollo.
Yeah, that one too. Can you type that out? Can you spell that one?
arroz con pollo.
Not that quickly.
So
She's gonna
that's the
Google
moment.
it.
It's one of those, and the thing is and I used to think that it would be Northern California because people would get excited about Sacramento or something, just burning one day. One day you wake up and the Arco Arena is just in flames, and it's like okay. And I thought that would be a moment, but everything around that just started burning, and
Yeah.
everybody kept it moving.
Sacramento was on fire due to the highest concentration of white people's weed gardens.
Oh my god.
Right, but
The single most.
But it's Miami is the one. That's the one. When Miami, because Miami will go underwater.
Yeah.
This will happen. Absolutely. That's the one.
Star
Like Venice.
Island. We'll see ya.
Yeah.
Venice is already pretty much underwater.
Exactly.
Like pretty much standing water almost, 150 days a year
Yeah.
is just standing water.
But
in
what is
Venice.
the report that said that if was it in Iceland or Greenland or something, if two of the glaciers melt, that we literally most of the coast is just going to be underwater.
That's
And,
what- that's what
Greenland's-
no, the
getting-
water would come up to the elbow of the Statue of
Greenland-
Liberty. Hence why I have this on this.
Yeah,
evening.
Greenland is thawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It
The Arctic,
really-
the entire Arctic is thawing. I mean, we're going to have summers without any ice, Arctic ice,
yeah, which is crazy.
which is insane.
But
I mean,
again, everybody
and also think about
My poor polar
agriculture.
bears.
Think about agriculture and how agriculture works. As you warm, you sort of create different zones of where agriculture can happen because it's a product of soil, water, but also climate.
Real talk. I drank
temperature.
Soylent for 6 straight months.
Did you say what?
I drank Soylent for 6 months, like 2 years ago.
What is that?
Soylent. I'm here. I'm living. I'm fine.
What?
That's all you.
He got his nutrients.
Yeah, I did it.
What?
Like, I
What-
did
what?
like a real Soylent challenge because okay, so I was so I'm a believer.
It's not people.
Can somebody put the definition
No.
of what the hell he's
Okay,
talking
so
about up for
Soylent
me?
is a soy-based, nutrient-based
like a paste.
beverage.
Oh, beverage.
Oh, okay.
And it's
They sell it at Trader Joe's.
no.
Oh.
No, you have to for the longest time you could buy it only online.
Oh, okay.
It's now available in 7-Eleven,
Oh.
which should give you a sense of where they're going with this.
Will it make me use the facility?
Yes, quite regularly. That's the whole point. But because ideally they want you to do 3 meals a day. So the thing with Soylent is that I became a proponent because I'm like, all right, so I believe that climate change is real, like radically real. Like I get it. I'm like, okay.
We shouldn't even speak in terms of whether we believe
I'm like,
it or not.
I'm like, we're gonna boil in our flesh shoots by 2050. I know this.
That accepts the premise.
Right.
of
I'm
the
like
debate,
not. I'm
which-
like
of
literally
which
not
there is
worried. I'm
none.
like, okay, we're gonna boil. So if we're gonna do this,
Just make sure I have enough Jameson for this.
I got you, girl. But I'm like, all right. So if we're gonna really do this, then I need to be apprised of what is the easiest way to live a life where the food is unsustainable. Where if you want corn on the cob is popcorn. If you want, you're not you're literally not going to be able to have green leafy vegetables because they're going to all burn.
They won't
Molly
grow.
and I have been talking about corn all weekend.
Well, it's not that they won't grow; they require a ton of water.
Yeah.
Right. And but
To maintain
but they're-
in that
right,
climate.
right? And they're not going to be sustainable. So broccoli, not sustainable. Most beef will be largely unable to be consumed.
Because it needs grass.
Right.
Cows need grass.
So think about it. So that meaty rib you have, Like imagine like 3/4 of meat just gone. It's just a bone.
Medium well.
What about coffee? Think about coffee, because coffee, we talk about, I just mentioned how crops require, the right combination of soil, sunlight, climate. But for coffee, it also requires elevation. If you warm the planet to a large enough extent to where you shift northward in the northern hemisphere and southward in the southern hemisphere, these temperate zones away from areas that are elevated to areas that are not as elevated. I mean, we could be looking at a situation in 40, 50 years where most coffees that we drink and that we enjoy are just they're extinct. The plants are extinct.
Coffee's a thing of the past. Okay, so
as I'm enjoying my cold brew.
So who goes to
Shout out to Mindspace.
Okay, so who goes to Starbucks?
I got a gift certificate
I do.
to Starbucks
Okay.
the other day.
What do you think is like the biggest seller right now at Starbucks? It's not coffee.
The fucking pumpkin spice latte.
It's not coffee.
Not coffee, is water.
Tea.
Tea.
Tea and food are outselling coffee at Starbucks.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
because Starbucks is even aware that they have to switch their branding.
Yeah.
Because
This is what's going on.
it's
This
a
is
real
exactly
thing.
It. This
They're
is
like,
climate change.
They're like, oh, so these beans.
Like, I love my coffee. You want to talk about things that keep you regular? That's what keeps me
Right.
regular.
So it's
and I'll
like-
be damned if I'm going
so
without
it's
mine.
like, okay, so
This
if
episode is brought to you by Everybody's Poo today.
penis to poo,
From penis to poo.
there it is. But
DCTBG.
no, that's the
Hashtag
thing.
old PP.
With old PP. But anyway, so that's the thing. Like, Starbucks is now realizing, wait, we have to become a lifestyle
I
brand
gotta make
Yeah.
you your own T-shirt. that
based
says that.
based around foods that you enjoy in the morning and drinks that you enjoy in the morning. That may not necessarily be coffee,
I just
but
want,
it's just
I just
like,
want my eggs Benedict
Wow.
in the morning,
but
darling.
it's just, Lord, got you.
Thank you.
Anytime,
Appreciate
dear.
it.
But it's like, but no, it's like the idea of like tea replacing coffee, because tea is easier to
Yeah.
farm and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can use virtually anything.
Right.
I mean, there's all sorts of things. Coffee is a particular plant, a particular bean, and the variations in taste are basically variations in just the different places on planet Earth.
Of
Because
course.
it's a very.
So
I learned this.
So coffee and chocolate.
Shout out! I'm a former
done.
Starbucks barista. I worked at a Barnes and Noble Starbucks
Amazing.
before law school. So I know this, that coffee only grows in a certain band, equidistant north and south of the equator,
Right.
across the globe. So it's only within that band, and it has to be a certain elevation. So that's why you have, Jamaica, Africa, Central America, northern parts of South America,
Yeah.
not ever the
'Cause
southern
now
part. There's no coffee that they grow in Peru. There's no
Tabby-
coffee that they grow
yeah.
in Washington.
Tabby-
State.
I was gonna say
Tabby
Tabby,
Bonet is doing this art exhibit on H Street at one of the new builds, and now is selling his coffee that he harvested from Ethiopia at Turning Natural.
Yeah.
Shout
So-
out to Turning Natural. Maybe
so
they
think
can
about-
sponsor.
Also, he's from Togo, so he has
He's from Togo.
he has a blend from Togo as well. I know
Okay,
that,
yeah. I
So
just-
think about what kind of just to take it out to a 10,000 foot level, as long as we're spouting cliches.
Oh wow, that's all we do.
Hey man, I have some self awareness. Think about the world that we're living in. Think about the world that we're living in like, let's say 25 years. Okay,
Yeah.
we are, at least right now in 2018, we are still, I believe, in a transition phase, culturally, economically, from what was in the 20th century an industrial economy to what is now, I presume, going to be like an information and
Well, not
maybe clean energy, I think, might be an engine of economic growth in the 21st century. Unfortunately, I think China is jumping in ahead of us, but that's
ahead of us.
that's neither here nor there. What we've seen in this transition, because we saw the same transition at the dawn of the 20th century, when we went from local agrarian economies to a mass industrialized economy that dominated the 20th century. We saw a lot of people left behind. If you are an apprentice blacksmith who shoes horses, and you see Model Ts rolling off the assembly line, you're out of a job. And we've seen that same thing over the last like 20, 30 years. And I actually, honestly, it's been such a long transition through this period that I don't know that it's something that's going to decelerate. I mean, we could be looking at another 25 years of sort of this transition where we don't want to fund we don't want to fund the educational infrastructure that people need to get ahead in the 21st century. We don't want to fund the safety net for people who fall through the cracks, people who were formerly, sort of like unskilled, not college educated, unskilled labor.
Marcus has something to say.
And when you couple that with these climate disruptions, because you have entire cultures that have built up over hundreds of years farming coffee in the mountains of Guatemala.
Ian, you are comically wrong,
Right.
but I love you. If there's any one thing that Donald Trump has done in 2.5 years, in a year and a half in office, is prove to the whole world that the death of the Industrial Revolution is a fallacy. Unemployment is at 3.74%, right?
Right.
Because we're seeing people who don't have skills ending up in jobs.
Right.
We have not seen.
What are those jobs?
President of the United States.
No,
of
we have
America.
not seen. We have not seen the death. We have not seen the death of Big Coal. Big Coal still exists. Steel. We've seen Donald Trump promise.
They still exist. That doesn't mean that they're not on the decline.
Hey, but Donald Trump has promised a return to the automobile industry in America. He's promised it. He told Ford to make cars. He looked at Ford and said,
Tesla messed up.
right. He looked at Ford and said, make a car.
Okay.
And he didn't blink.
Okay.
Like there's a
And
lot.
Ford took $1 billion loss and is laying off a bunch of people.
Right. No,
Like,
but
look,
I'm not saying that it's successful.
He just told them
Yeah.
to do it.
Right. I'm not saying that any of this will be in any way remotely successful.
Well,
But I'm saying that
he's giving the illusion of that.
it's not an illusion because people have jobs. Not that these jobs
Not
are
in manufacturing sectors. They have jobs in service sectors
right, but the
and healthcare sectors.
right, which are important.
For an aging population.
Which are important because there was an aging population of people who had those jobs. But I feel like
This is not GM offering $32 an hour with benefits and
what do you think?
I mean,
what do you think the second term is for?
I don't see that happening.
I mean,
I
he
do
wants
not
to.
see- I don't see that happening
Trump wants Apple to make cell phones
in the United States.
in the United States.
So
Won't
I want to say
happen.
this as somebody who worked in patent litigation,
Here we go.
Yes.
and I worked on several cases, both representing Apple and in which Apple was a party and we represented other parties. So I have seen the bill of costs on an iPhone.
yeah,
This is the iPhone. I think this is like the second most current. I've had this for about 2 years.
Is that the 6 or the 8?
The 8, probably. So this phone, with my amazing blue Michigan Wolverine helmet there. Shout out, they beat Wisconsin. This phone is entirely constructed, assembled in China,
yeah,
and shipped here as this unit.
yeah.
To do that same labor here in the United States, to fabricate all of the parts here in the United States and the labor that would cost. I mean, this is a phone that, you get it with a plan or something, and it's like $500, and you're paying, maybe
Excuse
like
you said what?
like
That phone is not $500. Try again.
It was. Well, if you get it with the plan or whatever.
Even with
Listen,
the plan,
I don't know.
Jack that price right on up. It's
$1,000.
My wife
almost
handles
$1,000 phone.
My wife handles that.
No need to worry, my
To
account
make this
handles
in the
that.
United States, to
Yes.
fabricate all the parts in the United States, to assemble it in the United States, this thing would cost about $35,000.
No, it's true. But the thing is that if Trump can
And
find,
I've seen the bill of parts. There's about 600
but
Parts.
component
So-
parts within here.
so
Little
here's-
chips.
here's what
There's
I'll-
like one manufacturer in Huawei that makes one little controller
They
chip.
make the
Here-
A6
so
or whatever
I'll
is
explain.
running.
I'll explain it like this. So like Shenzhen, which is like the center of
It's a city that they literally just made up.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that,
Chinese just made it up.
Is that the city that also has the Nike plant and all the rest
Yeah,
of that?
it's like they
Yeah.
it's a city literally
Yeah.
defined by industry.
It's
It
all
is their
man-
Detroit.
it's all man-
It's their mid
Yeah.
1900s Detroit.
I saw this on
So
CNN.
here's a fascinating thing about Shenzhen. They're running out of space.
Yeah.
They can't put any more They can't construct any buildings any larger to make any more parts or pieces. Yeah. So here's the fascinating part about Donald Trump. As much as on the left hand he's looking at China and saying, "You Chinese people are really, really bad." On the right hand he's like, "Anybody want to come to America? I have a bunch of people in the middle of the country that you could just employ.
Right.
You could just come over here. There's all this land, all this space here. You could be in Dubuque, Iowa."
Let me tell you why that's wrong. Because the cost of labor in the United States is so much higher than the cost of labor in China. It is the difference, the delta just in those costs has caused companies to literally shut down plants in the United States and build them, fabricate them, go through the zoning, do everything they needed to do in foreign countries just so that they can hire people at pennies on the dollar.
Right, but I'll say, have you looked at the revenue that these companies are making in China right now?
Yes.
Through the fucking roof.
Yes, China is having the same problem the United States had, which is, and it's only accelerating, which is that they've created such a burgeoning middle class that has such demands. Now you're starting to see companies that were previously in China using unskilled Chinese labor, looking to move to Vietnam, looking to move to Laos, looking to move to Indonesia.
You know what else they can move? The United States of America.
But
if
you're a Chinese country, and you're employing 100 people at $5 an hour, and you think that's too high, so you want to go to Indonesia where they'll do it for 25 cents an hour, or you want to go to the United States where you have a minimum wage law that's going to be $15 an hour.
Oh, but you could waive a minimum wage law to get the companies in. You could do that, and Trump would not be afraid
because we're not at $15
right?
yet.
And Trump would not be afraid to do it, and you know he wouldn't be afraid to do it either. Just to be able to say.
But at $15 an hour, you're still 3 times what you've determined in China was untenable and that you want to reduce your costs.
But you're ultimately able
Businesses are looking to reduce costs, not increase them, which is why I do not believe we're going to see a mass migration of unskilled labor into the United States.
But you could take your profits and make an American plant a loss leader. You could do that. Because the loss leader in China is dealing with the fact that you're paying for all these vacations for your newly middle class employees,
right?
Because that's the loss leader. Like, okay, so
that's where the U.S. auto industry was in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Right?
So if you take these jobs to America, where these people are going to go on vacation, Sydney Sue.
Look,
in a pink house,
American labor
is not going on vacation anytime soon.
American labor is more expensive than Chinese labor, and the Chinese firms are looking to reduce their labor costs.
But it's a
loss. They're going to go south. They're not going to go east.
It's a loss leader that's my belief. My belief is that the easiest way to create a sustainable loss leader for Chinese industry is by floating these jobs to America, because you know that these low-skilled American laborers are not going on vacation anytime soon. You know that you could work them for 18 hours a day and no one will complain, because you know what else you could do. It would be
an interesting strategy for a Chinese firm looking to break into the U.S. market to be willing to take the loss.
Here's the kicker. You create it as a gig economy job.
Oh Lord!
And then it's all over. Because you have firms like Uber.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, right? If you look at like Uber, from a distance before it's actually practical in our lives, you're like, okay, driver's gonna take all the risk, all the liability, all the damage to their car. They're only gonna get paid when they're actually working, not to, from, in between jobs.
Right. So
it's a terrible business model.
And it's the kind of
still think you're talking about the highest labor costs in the world. And
but if you
create unskilled, uneducated labor, manual labor, where it can be, wherever it can be, companies of long ago. I mean, this is Mark. We talked about this last week.
Of course,
this is a decision that was made 30 years ago. This is not something that has just happened, and this is why when I talk about you're in a transition period, I mean, I feel like we're ripe for a huge populist moment.
Oh, I agree, but the problem is that
because we're gonna have climate-induced poverty and economic transition and cultural and global
But
transition
here's the
tacked on top of what is already an economic.
Here's the kicker with that.
transition.
That'll make you like cry. It'll break your spirit immediately because it did it to me like years ago when it hit me and it's come true.
OG tears.
No, it's real.
Denzel Washington.
Really do.
Okay, so
Champagne tears.
there's a moment.
Hashtag champagne.
There's a
tears.
moment when you realize that Donald Trump is doing the. Let me think. What's the name of the movie? Thunderball. He's having the Thunderball moment.
What?
You know Thunderball.
The James Bond movie?
No, not Thunderball, but what is it?
The roller derby movie?
Yes, with James Caan.
Oh, I think that was Thunderball too. I think it was.
Yeah, it'll come. There's a
I
roller. There's a
missed-
roller derby
I-
movie from the
I
70s
missed
starring
that-
James
yeah.
Caan. That
I
I'm
missed
talking
that on
about.
Channel 5 when wrestling.
Isn't that what they
was
had
on.
when they had like spikes on
Yes,
there?
yes.
Like it was like death. It was like roller derby, but instead of
Oh,
like
here, it'll-
instead of cute girls getting knocked around, it was like people in armor killing each other. It was like it was gladiatorial.
Yes. So I'll pull up the name of the movie and
You
then I'll.
think, you think we're approaching the bread and circuses era of our dynastic decline?
Hold on.
just-
Rollerball. There it is.
Rollerball.
Rollerball.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so it's
yes,
Rollerball.
Who is Thunderball?
No, it's Rollerball. So we're at the Rollerball
Thunderball's a
point.
James Bond movie.
So we're at a Rollerball point where Donald Trump is running on a race against time with climate change. Where he's like, okay, I'm going to try to get as much done before the whole thing explodes that I can. Because he knows that there is a finite window where he could really push and get like everything accomplished.
But does he care? Is this on his number? The top 5? Is this a top 5 for him?
It's absolutely a top 5 because the second that you can get all of your constituency employed and have them employed for how long were people employed in Flint? 30, 40, 50 years.
50 years, yeah.
When you have a 18-year-old person who is voting in their first election in 2020 and they have a job for 50 years, you've covered that whole time where the Earth's exploding. You have. This person is boiling in their flesh suits, but they're damn happy to have a job.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that.
to
I'm not
make
so
a-
sure that your theory is economically sound, but
What is
you are on
economically
record.
sound right now?
But
You're
you
on
are
the record.
You are on the
100%
record.
on the record.
You are on the record. As
So to make
always.
the segue point, Donald Trump's also the same man that stared us boldly in the face and said, "That man was not shot. He wasn't shot at all."
Oh God.
And just kept it moving.
Because that's Donald Trump.
Kept it moving. Just
Right.
kept it moving.
Register to vote, people. All right.
Please.
Just kept it moving.
I'm killing with the okay, we're done talking about that tonight. So it's 9:10. I think we have some time.
We could talk about.
for what's that? We're freewheeling.
Next segment.
Next
we gotta
segment.
talk
Next
about,
segment.
We gotta talk about.
Dr. Ford and the Saudis.
Gotta talk about the Saudis. Like I
So-
said, that was my segue.
Well, this was gonna be
No,
my,
we're talking about the Saudis.
Gotta talk about the Saudis.
this was gonna be my Bish Sesh. But just all right. So for context,
Jamal.
Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi-born, Saudi citizen, U.S. Legal permanent resident, who is a writer for the Washington Post, I think among other organizations, but primarily the Post. He has been a loud and vocal critic of the Saudi royal family, and in particular their illegal war against Yemen, against a Yemeni population that has no means to fight back, and the Saudis are armed by a little country called the United States of America.
Yep.
So, Mr. Khashoggi was lured into the Saudi embassy in Istanbul, Turkey, and has not returned from there, or at least not that we're aware of. The Turkish intelligence has indicated to U.S. intelligence that he was murdered in the Saudi embassy, that he was interrogated, tortured, murdered, possibly dismembered,
They called the Bone Crushers.
possibly dissolved in acid. That was a report on Russian media. And actually, in my preparation for this show, I was at shout out to Stoney's on P Street here in Washington D.C. Good pizza.
Yeah.
Was watching on CNN, and the breaking news just literally hours before taping is that the Saudi government is now getting ready to basically admit that I think their story is going to be
an accident.
Their story is going to be that they were interrogating him and he died during interrogation.
It's an accidental
So-
waterboarding.
Yeah. This is disturbing on a number of levels, but to me, what I found most disturbing, because look, who, frankly, is surprised that the Saudi royal family thinks that they can act with impunity and without any accountability? They think that because it's true.
No, but
And Donald Trump admitted as much. He said, basically, look, this is a terrible situation. It's a terrible situation. We don't like it. We don't like it one bit. But they are buying $100 billion worth of arms from us. So,
okay.
I assume a couple of fingers and toes. I didn't think they'd take them all the way. But,
Okay,
that's basically what
He
we got. He
doesn't give a shit.
doesn't give a shit.
at all.
He even asked, he said, is he a citizen?
Yep.
Is he a citizen? I mean, he's a green card holder. Lives
So-
in the United States. Works in the United States. Works
Here,
here.
literally,
in this building.
where we're taping.
Okay, so
Murdered by the Saudi government.
a thing that people have to understand.
That the Saudi government murders people.
Well, yes, that.
And they buy a lot of Louis Vuitton.
Yes, that too. But here's the thing:
And a lot of rockets.
the America is $20 trillion in debt.
What?
Saudi.
No, so what?
Period.
The key to Trump as a politician is that Trump's greatest feat as a businessman is being able to take other people's money to cover his losses
Right.
and make them balance. That is how he
Oftentimes his father's money.
right. Oftentimes
As
money
we
of
discussed.
Russian dissidents. Oftentimes the money of
Russian oligarchs.
Yeah.
Fred Trump.
right. So
I'm sure he borrowed a few bucks from Ivanka back in the day.
so if you think about it,
when
right?
she was modeling.
So I'll give you
baby,
so
give me $1.
so I'll tie this into World Wrestling Entertainment, who's somehow part of this as well. This is crazy, but it's true. World Wrestling Entertainment has a $30 billion deal over the next 10 years in place with the Saudi government. Where
Linda McMahon.
yes, who's the head of the Small
McMahon.
Business Administration.
How about that? How about that? Almost like
She
all
hasn't
these-
been. She hasn't been in the news at all since.
this web of coincidences.
So think about it like this. Let's break it down even deeper. So if you're able to give $30 billion over 10
I
years
can't even count that.
to World Wrestling Entertainment, a company that impacts basically 5 million people worldwide. You could get to like maybe 5 trillion for American-based organizations pretty easily without a lot of work. So the idea that this is the beginning of a larger scheme over a period of time that was keystoned by Donald Trump being elected president is entirely plausible. So of course, when the writer loses his life, you're sad, but at the same time, you're so far into the process that there's literally nothing you could do.
What do you think is the end game of the Saudi government? We just talked about climate change. I mean, Saudi Arabia is pretty much the hottest place on earth.
Cars run on roads, man.
Yeah.
Where with rubber tires when it's 140 degrees. I mean,
Yeah.
like where?
It's hot.
What's going to happen in the Middle East? What's going to happen in these places?
Cars run on roads, man.
Crazy.
It's gonna be some-
Like that's
Also-
largely it.
Also, think about this from an American geopolitical perspective, which is this: what we've seen under this administration. Who are we allied with?
Russia.
Russia, Saudi Arabia,
Saudi Arabia.
Israel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a hard right, almost fascist Israel, an apartheid state in many ways. You know, North Korea.
Eh.
They have love letters.
So think about it like
who do we have no time for? Canada, Britain,
No.
Germany, France.
They don't have enough money to sit at the table.
This is a disruption of, and we've discussed this before. Like, this is more evidence of the wholesale disruption of the post-World War II global order.
Donald Trump's entire mandate was to rid America of a $20 trillion debt. Mm-hmm. Because the second that you rid America of a $20 trillion debt, then you free up Congress to be able to then have large-scale free reign.
There's only one problem with your theory. And maybe it's not your theory, maybe it's the execution. But the debt has increased.
Right, I know, but
there has been no debt service in the 2 years.
Every second.
Year plus of Donald Trump's presidency.
No, but the thing is that
it has exploded.
But here's the thing with Trump, though. Trump's the guy who likes to take the one shot at the moon. He's building all of this up for one big shot at the moon, and it's the Saudis who are supposed to be taking it.
I think you're giving him credit for too much strategic thinking.
It's not strategy. That's why I can give him credit, because it's not strategy.
They don't sit down and think.
He's literally calling the guy up on the phone and saying, Prince, here's the deal.
Not the good Prince.
I need as many trillion. He's like, how many $1 trillion can you free up?
Oh, let me think about
for me. How many?
Give us one moment.
He goes 5. So who else should I call then? Who else should I call if I need some more trillions to like shoot the moon with like one big giant shot?
Vladimir.
Right, Vladimir. You're gonna call Kim Jong-un. You're gonna call all of the people in the room,
your homies
that you know have wanted to do this moonshot.
And what do all these countries have in common? Russia, Saudi Arabia, the United States.
The Chinese are involved in this too, by the way.
Brazil, by the way, which is taking a hard populist right turn as we speak. What are these?
All the BRICS countries.
These are petrostates.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's like, okay, so we're going to get all of our oil money together, because that's the only money that could pull off this goofy idea, because it's goofy.
And they may as well burn through it now, because in 30 years, nobody who's going to be running shit on oil.
So they're going to pool together all of this money and shoot it at the American deficit. Shoot at $20 trillion. You shoot at it. Boom.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. This is the...
And it's ludicrous.
Debt service plan.
To end all...
Trump. This is Marcus K. Dowling's...
debt consolidation services. You pay $16.99 a month.
It's completely... No, it's the fact...
I will write the letters. Ian will sign the letters.
Okay, so it's the fact that, like...
credit agency.
It's the fact that, like, when I watched the WWE show from Saudi Arabia, and they're like, Saudi Arabia, it's a beautiful paradise. Yeah. Everybody here is wonderful. The women drive. Look at this. It is great. It's amazing.
It's sunny 362 days a year.
And I'm just like,
what more could you want?
I'm watching this and I'm like, it's Saudi Arabia.
The entire country is a beach.
Yep.
It's like, wait. And then they kill the journalist.
Yes.
He's dead. His bones could have been crushed, and then his skin could have been dissolved.
There's nothing.
This only happens in James Bond movies.
There's nothing left of him.
This only happens in James Bond movies. This doesn't happen in real life.
This is real life. This
is
fucking life.
And the
thing is now there's a spotlight.
So I don't feel crazy in this notion.
There's a spotlight on it. There's a spotlight on it now because it was an American.
Marcus is yelling.
But there are a lot of Saudi journalists who have met the same fate that we just don't know about. And this happens not just in Saudi Arabia. It happens in the Philippines. Yep. It happens in Russia.
Yep.
It happens in Venezuela.
Yeah.
It happens in Cuba.
Absolutely.
And, when we sit here and we just sort of laugh off that we have a president saying, the press is the enemy of the people, that shit's not funny.
But
that shit's not funny.
It's the fact that everybody didn't understand exactly what was going on. And this is what
people still don't.
No, and they don't get that actual skullduggery is taking place. Maybe it's the moment when the president of the United States stares into the camera and he doesn't blink when a man has been dissolved into the earth, maybe that's the moment for you. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, are we going to have like, like public executions on air on CBS?
I don't even think that's going to shake
at 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday nights as a sitcom.
Oh no.
Where
the
we
shit's
at?
happening. The shit's happening. Look, I was a history major. I was a history major in college, and if it's one thing that I know, not just in the United States but worldwide, is that fascism can take root in a democracy.
Yeah.
In fact, a late stage democracy can be in many ways fertile ground for it.
Umair Haque, Haque. He's a writer on Medium that I'm very fond of. He's been writing about this every single day for the last 100 days. It's somebody, and if you're interested in learning more about what you're talking about, Ian, he does a really good job every single day of writing for like 15 minutes worth of reading.
Go subscribe to Medium, people. Go subscribe to Medium.
Because people are there.
That's
like
great.
Subscribe to independent media.
Yeah.
And Marcus writes
The Intercept, Medium.
Yeah.
The Athletic, if you're a sports fan.
Yeah. The Conversation as well. There's a number of places out there.
I'm published. Wait a minute. I'm published on Medium.
There you go.
Yes, you should go on Medium.
But I'll even say this too. If you have the time and inclination, the Financial Times is killing it still. Because they're just sitting there looking at the world and going,
is it the time and the inclination, or is it like the $400 a year that they charge?
Can I just borrow your login?
Of course. But no, it's just comedy because like
when you're eating your eggs Benedict.
These are guys
at Decades Rewind.
There it is. So they're just sitting there like, okay. So the fascinating thing about this right now in the world, Brexit is happening in London.
Yes.
So if you imagine what we're dealing with in Washington, D.C., right? Brexit's even crazier than what's going on over here.
Yeah.
Because it's like imagine if like half of the United States decided that like the Constitution just wasn't any good. And we're just gonna leave. Like, yep. And we're still
the Constitution was only like 20 years old.
But we're still landlocked. Yeah. We're still landlocked, but like we're just gonna stop being friends. Yeah, basically. That's it. Done. And you have to like
we're kind of in that situation.
But you have to like exist in this notion, and every single day the government is lying to you and telling you that they're going to find a solution. Mm-hmm. Like obviously lying, like lying through their teeth. Like there's like people like like Johnson and these guys who make like Lindsey Graham look like O.J. Simpson. He looks like like he just.
Whoa.
I'm trying to think of somebody who's like who's an entertaining pop cultural figure.
Lindsey Graham. O.J. Simpson.
He's the first person that popped to mind. So an entertaining pop cultural figure of dubious.
You have to break that one down
of dubious
later.
believability.
Dubious.
So that's what it is. Like, and so when they write about what's happening in America, it's even funnier because they're like, yeah, that ship has already sailed. Like. Yeah. They write about it like, yeah,
they're
it's all
late stage democracy.
Yeah, it's all like past tense.
Well,
like, yeah.
They're late stage nation states, but not necessarily not.
Are they late or they late?
They're late democracy. Late
the second
nation states.
As the days grow towards
they're earlier democracies than the United States.
Right. As the days grow shorter towards the actual date of Brexit, you get later stage. It's fascinating to watch. But anyway, so that's just a thought about independent media.
Well, ain't this a bish?
Ouch you.
That was our bish session because I mean obviously it's a tragedy that this poor man lost his life. I mean I feel for his family, for his friends. I'm sure there are a lot of his friends who are here in this building. Maybe right now, and
he
it's
dissolved
obviously
him.
It's tragic. It's tragic.
That's
but it
like
also,
Flint.
but it also,
Beyond
I think,
tragic.
But it also, I think, shines a light on a lot of other issues, like what is going on with our alliances, what is going on with journalism. We value free speech. Why did the Saudis want to kill this man? Because he was a vocal critic of their policies.
He saw something that he wasn't supposed to see.
He saw the same thing we all see. He was just pointing it out. Yeah. He saw that the Saudis are killing unarmed Yemenis with American weapons and saying, well, they're the terrorists. We have to root out the terrorists. We're doing the same thing the United States did in Iraq and in Afghanistan.
This is Iran-Contra and the Sandinistas all over again.
It's it's a
on a different level, but it's basically the same thing.
It's a real shit show. Honestly, this is a
will
whole
we
nother
get
reason.
a hearing with Oliver North?
This no, not if we don't. Not if we have. Not if we have a Republican Congress.
So do you want another?
Did I go there?
Do you want another Kavanaugh?
Did I? Oh God,
if we have a Republican Congress, sure as shit, we're not going to get.
No, but do you want another
this.
Kavanaugh? Because they'll happily put another one up there and do 12 things about our backs.
If we could have his wife, with the facial expressions that she is continuing to give. Did you see?
What? If she really cared, she'd have fucking killed him by now. Fuck her facial expressions.
There it is.
Poison him. Put some 9 to 5. Dolly Parton. Take a cue. Rat poison.
There it is.
Yeah. If you're married to a shitty man,
Kill him.
Did you see?
Divorce him.
Did you see the way that
Divorce
she hit him
him.
with?
Yes.
Divorce him.
She hit him with the shoulders. He went to go touch it. She was like, "Whoa, where you going?" Hit you with the shoulders. I love it.
Special
You
delivery.
think she's pissed off at him?
She is.
I don't think so.
No, I think it's all an act.
I think it's.
I
I don't think she's
I don't-
pissed off at him
I
at
don't
all.
know.
I think she feels like he was
cashing a
railroaded.
check.
She's pissed off at Dianne Feinstein.
No,
she's pissed
she's
off
pissed-
at us.
She's
She's
pissed
cashing
pissed
a
off.
check.
She's cashing a check.
She's cashing a check, which is exactly why she's not pissed off at
Cash
him.
the
no,
check.
she is.
It's the classic, like,
She is. She's pissed at him.
sorry, Mom, it's a classic, like, white girl,
No.
Let me just speak on behalf
benefiting
Your-
from the white
Your
patriarchy.
people.
Let me begrudgingly speak on behalf of my people. Y'all need to tighten up. Fuck that. Stop marrying miserable motherfuckers. Stop enabling these shit ass men, and stop falling for the patriarchy.
There's nothing I can do to straighten out white men.
White women need to.
White women, yeah, take it back.
No,
Take it back.
That's cool that she made faces.
No, she like she's.
But you're probably cooking for him every night. You've been married to him. You had children with that fucking
Yeah.
piece of shit, and you've known he was a piece of shit your entire marriage. So your little facial expressions are cute. You can talk about them at Bridge Club and shit. But
Oh,
But she drives.
Bridge Club.
She just went with the Bridge Club.
She drives the X5 to Whole Foods every day.
She made some facial expressions on the internet.
I'm not giving her a pass, but
Yeah.
it's been
Okay,
some.
I'll put
It's
it
the
like
same.
this.
It's the same
great-
as
No, I'll put
Melania
great
victimhood.
commentary.
No, I'll put it like this. It's a weird.
Oh.
It's a weird. It's
that
a
really was my bitch.
It's
of
a
the week.
weird. It's a weird social
Freaking
cultural
Melania.
moment that's defined by race and class. When you talk about the Kavanaugh thing, this is like my final statement on Kavanaugh. It's a fascinating moment when you ask a black woman about the facials this woman is making,
Clearly, I just.
or like a lower to middle income, especially a lower to middle income black woman, because middle income, higher income, educated of means of awareness versus like.
Thank you for not calling me poor.
No, I did not. I did not. Jesus, I would never do that. But you're not. Like that's not a thing. I think it's poor people, but you're not. But it's a thing where you see all of it laid out. Where like if I talk to I took the X2 one day, and I talked to the woman laying next to me, like say
my
like
favorite bus
yeah,
line.
we're talking about the Kavanaugh
Best
thing.
X-Men movie, by the way.
Yeah, X2, love it. So anyway, so I was on the X2 talking to a woman about the Kavanaugh thing, and she's like, "If that was my man." I would have whooped his ass a long fucking time ago. And then I had a conversation.
He looks like he could use a good ass kick.
I had a conversation at Rewind. Right, I had a conversation at Rewind
Exactly.
at work
No.
with the lovely young African American woman and two of her white friends. They were all there for happy hour. And
What were they drinking?
And they were what was it?
What are the happy hour specials?
They were having a mojito. They were all having mojitos.
Are mojitos on happy hour special?
they are.
All right, then I'm going
So they're having a mojito.
to start going to decades.
They're having mojitos.
A mojito.
And they're sitting there and they're talking, and the one lovely young African American woman says, "My fiance
Oh shit.
went to Harvard,
I need more Jameson.
Oh boy.
and he would never do that."
Lies.
Chet
Lies. Chet.
is a good man.
Lies.
Black girl marrying a guy named Chet from Harvard,
Chet,
and Chet's black, isn't he?
no,
Chet is not black.
Chet is absolutely not black.
All right, let's just pause this check. You ever met a black check?
I was thinking.
So anyway,
Never mind.
then-
Never mind.
I met a
Never
black.
mind.
I met a black Mordecai.
So then there were the two white women who were with this lovely.
He plays for St. John's High School.
So the two white women who were with this lovely young black lady were from very different backgrounds. The one who seemed to be more like Southern and maybe came from, like a state like Arkansas or Mississippi. She said, I know a lot of men like him. And he is a good man in his heart. And then the woman who came from clearly like, Boston or somewhere was like, literally, she looked at her friend and said, fuck you, you're wrong.
Hey, my girl.
I like her. Did she drink Jameson?
No, she just slammed, just slammed down her mojito. Was like, fuck you, you're wrong.
What days did they come to Rewind?
I saw them once, and it was a fascinating moment because I saw in like the span of like 2 or 3 days, like within those conversations, like the whole spread of it. Because it's a fascinating thing when there's like a white man in the midst of it who's like an obviously like guilty white man. Like you're like an innocent white man, Ian. Like you're innocent in this. But this man is guilty.
Shit.
And it's obvious that he's guilty. He's like guilty as sin. He's guilty as dead to rights. And the
Guilty of what?
He's guilty of rape.
Drank too many beers.
He likes beer. He's guilty of rape. And it's obvious he's guilty of rape. And rape is like the worst that you could do. Of all of the crimes you could commit in the world. Because if you shoot somebody dead, they're dead. They don't have to live with that pain for the rest of their lives. Well, if you rape someone, this person is to walk through the rest of their life knowing that they were raped. And they could potentially see the person that raped them walking amongst people in the world. Like Christine Blasey Ford did the day that she realized that this man who raped her was going to be on the Supreme Court. And that's a fascinating moment. Because if you think that this person is not guilty, this means that you're aiding and abetting a rapist on one level. And it means that number two, that you're okay with somebody getting double jeopardy for rape. Double jeopardy. That's a double jeopardy crime for some people, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. And on another level, you have people that are just like, this man is dead to rights, dead and buried. But it's funny is that the people that say that are people who are so far disenfranchised from rights and responsibilities in America that they don't even equate into the conversation. So the fact that they want this man to fry literally doesn't even matter. It's absolutely insane.
Well, I think we're a little too quick to jump to the, I can see it on his face that he's guilty. I mean, I think that's
no, that motherfucker's
troublesome.
Guilty.
That's troublesome. No. Let me say this. I mean, I was raised by my father to always be respectful. I had an educational culture where respecting women was it was not tolerated to not respect your female classmates when I was in college. I mean, I've grown up in a culture of respect for women, and I have people in my family who have been, both victims of sexual assault and also falsely accused. We won't get into that whole issue, but I do think that there's a little bit of a too quick to jump to the I can see it on his face that this man is a rapist. I mean, I think that that's a bridge too far. Look, with Kavanaugh, we had her testimony, which was
and then you had his testimony,
amazing, and yeah, I mean, I think he's guilty. I think.
Everybody's looking at pictures. This man going, "Yep, that's a racist face." No, they listen to him act.
Well, but we're talking about Chet. We're talking about Chet in a group of
Chet was funny because Chet Chet isn't guilty. It's not that Chet is guilty. It's that that Chet has been in questionable situations.
Sure, probably, yeah.
Right,
but
you just knew. You could look at the conversation and you're like, yes, because she pledged a sorority, obviously, and Chet was in the fraternity, obviously, and they had moments together, obviously, and something probably happened. So she's like saying this with fairly decent,
But
like.
fortunately, there was no alcohol involved.
I mean, they all like beer. They like beer a lot.
I don't
At
know
the
if you
frat
know
house,
anything
at the
about
frat house.
sorority.
But
Anyway,
that's one of those things. It's just little moments of life in Washington D.C. 2018.
Here's my thing on Kavanaugh. He's going to give us 30 years of times when we can talk about him, and it's almost inevitably going to be bad because he's written some opinion. Remember, I told you a couple weeks ago that Kavanaugh's strategy through this whole thing was the Clarence Thomas, I'm going to go through the 2 worst weeks of my life, and then I'm going to spend the rest of my days as a Supreme Court justice.
He did.
And he did. And he did. And he did. He had, I'm sure, he would say those were the 2 worst weeks of his life, where the country was exposed to the unvarnished Kavanaugh, the keeping it 100 Kavanaugh.
Did you see the report in the Times
So
where?
this is one conversation I'm sick of having.
Yeah,
I'm really
Did you
sick.
see the Did you see the report in the Times where he was advised to go all the way in?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
That's just a bad analogy with Kavanaugh.
All right.
Yeah, moving on to my favorite thing of the week.
Yeah, because we like to finish our show.
Michelle, you don't want to say something? I mean, that's why we're here.
Does Michelle have an announcement?
You don't have any commentary back on that?
What, on Kavanaugh?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a survivor, so I'm a survivor.
We all know survivors.
And
we all know whether we know it or not.
You gotta let her finish, man. 'Cause
And-
it happens quite a bit.
And this is just, us saying, we looking at him, he's a rapist. Yes, he is. He came out of his mouth. His testimony was his testimony.
I'm not talking about Kavanaugh. I mean,
And-
I think he did what he was accused of doing.
Yes, absolutely. And so as we're talking about other, individuals, and you're saying, oh, my man is perfect and everything. Nah, boo. They ain't always perfect. There's been some trials and tribulations in that person's life that has led them down a very dark road, and something has happened. Now, if nothing has happened, then congratulations. You got 1 in a million. Okay? But Kavanaugh, please. Okay.
Well, I was not taking up for Kavanaugh, that's for sure.
Leaving it at that. So our favorite thing of the week.
All right. Well, this is the part of the show where we try to finish on a high note, where we talk about our favorite things that we saw this past week. Each of us gets a favorite thing. So I'd say we start with the birthday girl. Molly, do you have a favorite thing that you saw this week?
It wasn't them cookies.
No, those cookies. Shout out to Pink Fox for making the 8th Street Festival.
I am
Tolerable.
in love with Pink Fox. You are, I don't know who you are. I never made it across the street to meet you, but God bless you.
All right. Is that your favorite thing, Molly? Pink Fox?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared.
That's all right. That's all right.
Neither was I.
Yeah.
All right. Michelle, do you have a favorite thing this week?
My favorite thing this week is my sweatshirt that, of course, I found digging in the crates, helping Molly out at 8th Street Festival. So it is from Crushing Apparel, and that is the force behind, isn't it Boo?
It's Crushing Boo.
Crushing Boo.
From DC as Fuck.
Shout out to Boo.
And I just thought that it was just very appropriate. It's very much where we are. So for you all that cannot see me or can see me, it is the Statue of Liberty with her hands up. Like,
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me because I moved the microphone.
There you go.
It's the Statue of Liberty with her hands up. Like, what's up? What's going on?
Yep.
I have nothing else to say. So this is my favorite thing of the week.
Very
Got to
nice.
support the local brands, and
Yes.
it's just a classic piece.
Support local entrepreneurs
Yep.
whenever you can.
And everybody that stopped by the table while we were at 8th Street. I think we had the perfect location.
Did you guys hear any good music?
Oh my God, yes. These two. Did you get their names? There was 2 drummers, and when I tell you, they were absolutely perfect from the time they set up, and they were drumming on a bucket, a old water bottle, like the big, water cooler bottles. They were perfect level of sound, perfect beats, and I mean they were just great. and crowds just kept coming around them. To me, I just think we were in the perfect location. We were in front of Whole Foods, kind of cliche, but it was just good foot traffic, just everything. You know.
People want to know.
It was freezing though.
Yeah.
Damn climate change. Oh, I'm sorry.
I get this question a lot. Like, what is DC culture? Like, to me, DC culture is hearing a go-go beat playing on a couple of buckets.
But it was more than go-go.
Yeah.
They really never
I bet they were killing.
They really never hit a pocket or anything like that. It was, I mean, if there was a little calypso.
No, I mean, they were in the pocket all the time, but it wasn't like they were playing
Whole time.
Oh, where's my graphic for that?
Whole time.
Whole
I'm
time.
just gonna throw up DNA don't lie.
DNA don't lie.
Whole time.
I mean, you know,
Hashtag the pocket.
they had it, but it was just like it was a jazz beat, and I don't know, maybe it was
They
that.
were killing it because they had so many different size drums. Like one kid was banging on a water cooler.
Amazing.
Thing inside of a bucket.
Yes.
So literally everything they were knocking on had like different frequencies.
It's dope.
And they filled the air
Yes.
with what sounded like a lot more than
Just
a
drums. Right. It was perfect.
incredible.
Yeah, it really was, and it wasn't just the cookie that I had at Pink Fox.
Beautiful.
It wasn't
Marcus.
even a whole cookie.
Okay, so I watched LeBron James play basketball with the Los Angeles Lakers for the first time this week.
Oh boy.
And it's funny because LeBron started his career as like a teenager, and
With a hairline.
right. And it's fascinating for me because I'm a 40-year-old man. When you see an athlete become an adult playing a child's game that they played as a professional as a child. So if there's any one thing that people should be watching for if they watch the NBA this season is watching LeBron actually for the first time in his grown adult life play basketball as an adult with responsibility. It's a different style of game. It's like the closest thing that I could think of is if you're a fan of the 80s NBA, it's like watching like a 6'9" like Magic Johnson style player with that level of like angelic control of the court. He used to be a guy who could like punish you and like beat you up, and you'd be like, wow, that's a vicious guy to watch, just because everything about him just looks like he's like battling. But for the first time, I mean, maybe it's the fact that he's playing in LA now and he gets to hang out in LA every day of his life. He looks angelic and at peace, and it's a very cool thing to watch. So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Very nice.
I'll have to watch.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of license. I'm going to go with two favorite things this week. First off, this week, and you guys know I'm a huge football fan. I haven't yet divorced myself from the NFL, and obviously I follow college football very closely. So this is pretty much hate week for me because the Redskins are playing the Cowboys, and Michigan is playing Michigan State. So hate week. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge sports fan, and I'm a fan of my teams, and I hate my team's rivals. So that's two big ones there. The other one that literally just popped into my Facebook feed as we were preparing for this show. Great Britain is suffering from an epidemic of drunken wasps.
They drank all the Jameson.
Now, I'm not talking about white Anglo-Saxon
I was going to say, welcome to Shaw.
Welcome to Shaw. It's Shawsome.
It's Shawsome.
Hashtag Shawsome.
Boom.
These are actual wasps, the insects that sting.
Not the metal band?
So they hang out in beer gardens where there's obviously a lot of beer spillage hanging around, and these
Can't
wasps
get away talking about beer.
will drink. They will drink
Like
like
beer.
little micro droplets of beer, and it literally gets them fucked up. And the thing is, these wasps, they're not chill drunks. They're very aggressive, sting happy, pissed off drunks.
Kind of like Kavanaugh.
Kind of like these are the Kavanaughs of the insect world.
Oh, you little Kavanaughs.
So I read that
fuckers.
story. I was laughing my ass off, and I was like, you know what? That's a favorite thing as well. So there it is. There it is. All right. Do we have anything else, Molly?
Nope.
Beautiful.
Feels like it was a good episode.
Yeah. This was great. This was a lot of fun, spirited as always. Not always agreeing, but I think
we're not supposed to agree.
Agreeing is for wussies.
Agreeing is for wussies. So Molly, again, thank you. Happy birthday again.
Birthday to ya.
Happy
birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
White people and black people. Right there.
Just in the happy birthdays.
No, seriously, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
No.
I'm a musician, but I can't sing for shit.
Yeah.
Cannot sing for shit.
It's okay. We'll get you there. Come on over to Shiloh and
The Shiloh Baptist, will they take me in the choir?
you can rehearse for.
Can I be in the gospel choir?
Well, let me see you clap and sway. Okay, that's the end of the show.
All right. See you next
Oh, clappy.
Oh, clappy over there.